It looks like we're finally starting to get some traction and some forward movement and definitive timelines here for this Lakers coaching search, as Adrian Wojnarowski earlier reported today that J.J Redick will have a formal meeting and an interview set up this weekend with the Lakers. And Bronny James and a few other top prospects were working out with the Lakers earlier today, and the Lakers have a few picks upcoming here in this NBA draft. What's up, y'all, and welcome to another Lakers Digest video. I'm your host, Okechi Apakama, and before we get into everything we have for you for today's video, guys, I want to bring your attention to something. There is 78% of you guys who recently watched our videos who are not subscribed to the channel just yet, and if you guys want more of that Laker news, like reactions, trade rumors, draft coverage, just every and all things LA Lakers, you guys want to come right here to Lakers Digest so you guys do not miss any of those updates. Now, with that out of the way, guys, let's hop straight into the topics we have for you today, as Lakers and J.J Redick have a formal interview set up. So, we finally have some forward movement on this Lakers coaching search, as it's been weeks after weeks after this guy's a favorite over this guy's a favorite, but we finally have a definitive date set up. So, Adrian Wojnarowski reported earlier today that J.J Redick has a formal interview set up with Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss this weekend, with an opportunity to really put a stronghold in his place to be the next Lakers head coach. And J.J Redick has been the talk for weeks, essentially, as he's been the one with, obviously, with the podcast of LeBron James, and he's also been the one on ESPN calling these finals games. So he has been in and around people's ear, and people are well aware that J.J Redick has been one of the guys the Lakers have been targeting to be one of their next head coaches. And Brian Windhorst was talking about J.J Redick's and his candidacy, and then he said he's already kind of been interviewing for him due to these podcasts. And Brian Windhorst said this earlier today, saying, frankly, his interviews in those podcasts with LeBron James, those extensive breakdowns of the Lakers offense, extensively breaking down what they'll do, it's been out there for the whole world to hear, including for the Lakers front office. So in a way, that has kind of served as sort of like an early entry, or to like kind of what J.J Redick is thinking basketball-wise, because of that Mind the Game podcast and what it's been doing with him and LeBron James, and obviously having one of your top players and possibly your next future head coach on a podcast together. Really bodes well for those two guys' chemistry if it were to become a thing actualized in the future. But a guy like J.J Redick, who his name has constantly been in the news, constantly be in conversations about how he can be the next guy for the Los Angeles Lakers, especially after all the Dan Hurley drama. I do think, like I've said before, J.J Redick can be a guy that you can put in this position. It is a bit of a high risk, high reward, because he's a guy that we all kind of know that has that smart basketball IQ. We see it in the podcast. We see it on the broadcast also with ESPN. So he's a guy that clearly knows his stuff, but it's all about the day-to-day for me. So what is he like managing certain egos, or what is he like being a decision maker and the final decision maker? So those are some of the questions, obviously, that if you've never been a head coach before, we haven't really seen it, so we don't really know if he can do those capabilities. But as far as all the basketball side of things goes, I think J.J Redick is pretty solid there. I do think some people will have some shortcomings with him wanting to be the head coach, but if there is a solid staff in and around and behind him, and if the Lakers trust him enough to build a staff that he can trust himself, then I do think that you can get some good benefits out of J.J Redick possibly being the next head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers here. And one more thing to add to this Redick piece is a lot of people were wondering if the whole Dan Hurley mess would stall Redick's candidacy. But according to a source here in Adrian Wojnarowski's story, said that didn't really deter Redick. And Redick understands and accepts Pelinka's lengthy pursuit of Connecticut's coach Dan Hurley. And it makes sense because J.J Redick is a guy that also had him on his podcast not too long ago. So he's a guy that really respects Dan Hurley and what he has to say about basketball. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had him on his podcast. And he's a guy that really understands also his place. I don't see J.J Redick as the type of guy to really think he is bigger than he actually is. He's really just grounded in that fact. So he really understands his role. So he knows that a guy like Dan Hurley, who was the back-to-back college basketball champion there, it makes sense why he gets those type of interviews. It makes sense why he got that type of money offer. So I don't think any of those things that went on with the Dan Hurley negotiations is really going to affect J.J Redick's negotiations, because these are two separate candidates, as Dan Hurley also has that huge track record from being a high school and high-level college basketball coach. While he doesn't have the NBA professional coaching gigs, you at least have seen it that he's coached at a high level before. And then J.J Redick, on the other hand, is just coached his young boys who are about 9 or 10 years old. So it's around like that AAU basketball range. So he hasn't coached professional, or I wouldn't say professionals because colleges still don't consider them professionals, but he hasn't coached at the highest levels of basketball, which at least Dan Hurley has done some of that. So that's obviously their two big discerning factors from those guys. As far as from a basketball standpoint, we'll see what Rob and Jeannie Buss think. But with possibly the NBA Finals coming to an end soon, this can get resolved fairly quickly for the Los Angeles Lakers. But that's going to lead me to my next topic here, as the Lakers held some workouts earlier today, and Bronny James was one of the workouts for the Los Angeles Lakers. And unlike in the past, where I remember like the Lakers socials used to really put out each and every workout of every player that came through, and they would have like a little highlight reel tape from their workout earlier. They haven't really done that too much this year. It's been a little bit more quiet. I think that's has to a little to do with some of the agents that tend to get involved in some of these draft workout processes. But Bronny James, according to a few sources, was at the Lakers training facility having a workout there with a few other players. And there's this is according to Dan Wilkie of the LA Times. And a thing that the Lakers really like about Bronny James is his athleticism, his defensive potential, and his shooting at the draft combine, because he really shot the ball well during his shooting drills. And then combine that with certainly the interest of the Lakers, who can help make history of pairing him with his father, LeBron James, should LeBron James return to the team in free agency this summer, if he opts out as expected. So I know there's a little bit of conversations that people are thinking like, oh, maybe LeBron is going to go to wherever Bronny James plays basketball. And I don't really think that's the case, because LeBron really has really made here in Los Angeles, where he can he's had this nice pairing with Anthony Davis. They've really built up a really nice friendship. And then he's also has all his family, all of his holdings, all of his things here in Los Angeles. So for him to really go elsewhere just to play with his son doesn't really make too much sense for him. Also, he's going to be losing out on a lot of money, as well as the Lakers could pay him a lot more money than other teams. And even though LeBron is a billionaire, he is a guy that tends to really like to get all the dollars he can get. So I don't think that wherever Bronny ends up going is going to affect what happens to LeBron James. But that being said, I don't think Bronny goes anywhere else but the Lakers, as the Lakers have 2 picks here for this NBA draft. They have the 17th and the 55th pick. I don't believe the Lakers will use Bronny James on the 17th pick, because I do believe that is a pick they either a trade for another player, or use that pick for possibly one of these either big wings or big centers, because there's been guys like Zach Edey and Kevin O'Ware are talked about in these conversations as who the Lakers could choose at that 17th spot. So they're probably looking in the route of guys that could possibly help them at that 17th spot, rather than guys who like Bronny James, who'll be more of a project as a guy kind of developing and getting better and growing as a player. That's why I see more of that 55th pick that the Lakers could possibly take for him, or even, which the Lakers have done in the past, is buy a second-round pick. They did that for Max Christie, and they also did that for, I believe, Jordan Clarkson way back in the day. So the Lakers have done a thing or two purchasing second-round picks. So I believe they did the year prior for Maxwell Lewis too. So the Lakers have done this thing where they would purchase second-round draft picks for a player that they really see fit, that they can work out and hopefully get better down the road. So that's more of the role I see for the Lakers and Bronny James. That's why that 55th pick makes sense where they'll pick him at. So, and it's I know a lot of people will be just talking about like, oh, what about him playing and stuff like that. It's like I don't really believe that he is, especially like right away, gonna command playing time because even a guy like Jalen Hood-Schifino didn't really get too much playing time on the Laker team last year as a rookie, and then he was seen more of a guy that was just a bit of an outside lottery guy. So I really have a very hard time believing that Bronny James is really going to affect the Lakers team too much next season, with the exception of having his last name be James. So I do think if he's on the team, sure, he can be a very good teammate. Hopefully, he grows into something and becomes the NBA player that he can possibly be. But as of right now, I am not too concerned if he ends up on the team, because if he's a good teammate, then might as well the Lakers just have him on the same team. Like this has happened in the past for many great players and their siblings. I know that happened with Blake Griffin because he had a brother for a while. It's happening currently with the Bucks with Thanasis. So if these guys don't really hurt your team chemistry and they're just a part of your bench, then I really don't see any issue with it. But let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think the Lakers should draft a guy like Bronny James there, and do you think the Lakers shouldn't mess with it at all? And then also, do you think that J.J Redick has a real good shot to being the Lakers head coach? Do you think he'll do a good job in that position, or do you think he's just gonna be another one of these Lakers coaches who we just kind of just throw away after 2 seasons? So let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. I have been your host, Okechi Apakama, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.